This simulation is a measurement simulation. It gives students, there's a couple different options. You have a travel game or a freeform measuring. We're going to go ahead and do the freeform measuring simulation. So you click here on this, and it's going to come up. I like to have a full screen, so I'm going to go ahead and expand to full screen, and then here it says full screen. This just gives the students a better idea of how to do that without the confines of a smaller screen. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. So the first thing it's going to ask me is which unit of measurement I would use for measuring a ball of lint. So I'm going to go ahead and say centimeters. It then asks me to choose a starting point and an end point. I can then visually try to determine how many there are, or I can click and it will go ahead and count for me. And I discover it's about 7, so I'm going to put 7 down here. And then you confirm it. And here it gives them an immediate observation that nice work, they really knew what they were doing. It gives them ranks, so now when you get the first one, you become an amoeba. So here you've got your next one. Now if I were to choose the wrong one, it does give me a red flag saying that that one's probably not going to work. It's either too large or too small. So I can try again. And it blacks out the one I chose so that I know that that one's not an option. So then I can go ahead and do my start point and my end point. One disadvantage to this simulation is that it does not correct students if they choose the wrong start or end point. My computer's gone blank here. Okay, so the disadvantage here is that it doesn't correct them if they choose the wrong start point. They could just do any one they want. They could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put in their estimate, confirm, and it tells them they did it correctly. Now, as educators, we know that they did not do that correctly. So before you would ever do the simulations, you would need to have a talk with students about starting, measuring straight lines, and making sure that you go from at the largest point. So if I were to measure from here to here, that is an inaccurate measurement for the width of that orange. But I'm going to go ahead and keep going, and it will tell me that I have it correct. So before students could ever do this simulation, it would take a lot of teacher intervention, making sure they know how to do that. One thing that this is great for is teaching students those units of measurements. Are you going to use centimeters, millimeters, or kilometers? It's great for that because it's giving those students that feedback as to whether or not the unit they chose is correct. However, for as far as measuring actual units of measurement and estimating, it's fairly inaccurate because it does not give students the feedback they need. They could choose any line and they're not really measuring anything. Something that would make this better is if they had scales or if they had actual measurements where they provided the line and the student had to measure across, or the simulation was able to register if the student was doing an incorrect line measurement. So as they go here, they just keep going along here. That unit is too small, so you're going to choose kilometers, and they can do as many of these as they want. The other conversation you would have to have is that this red line does not actually represent a kilometer. It's a representation of a kilometer. It's on a scale. So this is an okay simulation for helping students choose units of measurements. But as far as actually measuring things, learning how to correctly draw lines of measurements, learning how to accurately measure using a ruler, it's not the best simulation. I would choose a different one for that type of a simulation. So here you see I've got 35, and I can confirm it. Okay, this time they're up to a well. And this simulation will just keep going and going as long as the students want to play it. As far as age group, I would say this is great for probably 4th, 5th grade when they're learning those metric units and how to use them, how to choose which unit of measurement. It's very limited in its scope. It's units of length only. It's not the greatest tool for teaching accuracy of measurement, but for teaching which unit you would use, centimeters, kilometers, or meters, it would be great, but it would not be something that you would do a long time. It would not be something students would return to again and again to help them give an understanding of what to do. I would see this being a simulation that maybe a teacher would show the class, have the class choose A, B, and C with clickers, and interact with this as a class.